They told you to be yourself, but the moment you tried, they turned away. That's the paradox no one warns you about, that becoming who you truly are requires you to betray almost everything you've ever known. Not out of spite, not out of rebellion for its own sake, but because the world is built on illusions, and awakening from those illusions makes you a threat. From childhood, you're given scripts to follow, masks to wear, and lines to recite. You are trained to become digestible, acceptable, predictable. Your authenticity is carved into something smoother, more polite. You begin to shrink parts of yourself to fit into spaces that were never made for you. You learn quickly which emotions to suppress, which truths to keep hidden, which parts of you are too loud, too dark, too honest. And so, you adapt. You smile when you want to scream, you nod when your soul says no. You laugh at things that make you sick inside. Over time, the performance becomes so convincing that even you forget it's a lie. You call it personality. You call it adulthood. You call it survival. But deep down, there's something in you that never truly sleeps. A quiet observer. A raw, unfiltered self buried beneath the noise. It doesn't speak often, but when it does, it makes everything else feel fake. That voice is your truth. And when you begin to listen, really listen, it will cost you. To live in truth is to strip away every illusion that kept you comfortable. It is to lose people, to stand alone, to be misunderstood, not because you've become someone terrible, but because you're no longer playing the game. Nietzsche understood this. When he wrote, "To become yourself, you must first betray the world," he was not being dramatic. He was being accurate. The world does not reward individuality. It fears it. Authenticity threatens the systems that rely on obedience. You cannot be free and also be owned. You cannot speak truth and still be approved of by those who live by lies. Betraying the world means disappointing people you once tried desperately to please. It means realizing that many of the connections you cherished were built on conditions. Behave this way. Think like us. Never grow too far beyond the familiar. The moment you begin to evolve, to shed the skin that once kept you small, those connections begin to fray. Friends withdraw, family gets uncomfortable. They ask what happened to you. They call you cold, distant, selfish. But the truth is, you're not becoming cruel. You're becoming whole. And that terrifies people who only know how to connect through wounds and masks. This process, this brutal unraveling, is what shadow work truly is. It is not some trend you do on the weekends. It is a war with your own conditioning, a reckoning with the lies you've believed about yourself for so long that they've grown roots in your soul. Shadow work means looking your pain in the face and refusing to look away. It means feeling the rage you were taught to suppress. It means grieving the years you spent betraying yourself for approval. It means admitting that your need for validation has shaped your entire identity. The ego doesn't want this. The ego wants safety. It wants identity. It wants control. It would rather keep you wounded and accepted than healed and alone. But you cannot serve both your soul and your ego. One must die for the other to live. Ego death feels like madness because the structures you leaned on to define yourself begin to crumble. You no longer know who you are when you stop people-pleasing. You no longer recognize your own voice when you stop filtering it through fear. But in that disorientation lies the doorway to truth. Healing begins in silence, not in forced positivity, not in performative spirituality, but in silence. The kind that sits heavy in your chest. The kind that forces you to confront what you've avoided your entire life. And in that silence, a question emerges. Who am I when I stop pretending? Not who do they want me to be? Not who did I learn to become? But who am I, really? The answer isn't always pretty. Sometimes what you find beneath the masks is rage, the kind of rage that's been swallowed for decades. Sometimes it's grief, old stagnant grief that has calcified in your bones. Sometimes it's longing, a deep, aching hunger for a life you've never lived. These are not weaknesses. They are doorways. They are the unspoken parts of your soul finally speaking. And if you're brave enough to listen, to sit in that storm without running, you begin to change. Not in some romantic movie montage kind of way, but slowly, unevenly, painfully. You set boundaries for the first time and feel guilty about it. You say no and shake from the fear of abandonment. You walk away from people you love because you finally love yourself more. This isn't selfishness. This is reclamation. Because for years, you gave yourself away in pieces. You apologized for your needs. You minimized your intuition. You became what others needed so often that you forgot what you needed. Now you are remembering, and the world will call it betrayal, but let them. They do not know the war you fought within. They do not know what it's like to silence your truth just to be loved. They do not know what it costs to live a lie. Detachment becomes a sacred tool in this process. Not coldness, not numbness, but detachment. The ability to stand in your own reality even when others reject it. The ability to hold space for your truth without needing it to be validated. The ability to walk away, not with anger, but with peace. This is the strength the world never taught you. Because a detached person cannot be manipulated. They do not chase approval. They do not crumble under rejection. And most of all, they cannot be used. This is the kind of power that comes from deep, internal transformation. Not the loud, aggressive power that dominates others, but the quiet, rooted power that radiates from within. The kind that speaks without words. The kind that sets boundaries without threats. The kind that simply is. This is the self you were always meant to be. The self the world could not tame. But it comes at a cost. And that cost is everything you thought you had to be. Every mask, every role, every illusion of safety. You will grieve it. You will want to go back. You will miss the comfort of pretending. But once you've tasted freedom, you cannot unknow it. You were not born to be accepted. You were born to be real. You were not born to perform. You were born to feel. You were not born to betray yourself for connection. You were born to connect through truth. And yes, that truth will isolate you, but it will also liberate you. So let the world call it betrayal. Let them say you've changed. Let them walk away. Because every step you take back to yourself is a step away from the lie. You are not here to be understood by everyone. You are here to become someone even you never thought possible. And that begins the moment you stop asking for permission. You were always enough. You were just too honest to be palatable. And now, finally, you're free. And in that freedom, there's a silence you've never known before. A silence that no longer feels like emptiness, but like space. Space to breathe, space to create, space to discover who you are when the world is no longer watching. You begin to rebuild, not with borrowed bricks, but with the raw, jagged stones of your own truth. The pieces don't fit neatly, they don't look polished, but they are yours. And for the first time, that's enough. This is what becoming yourself actually looks like. It isn't glamorous. It isn't neat. It's not a highlight reel. It's long nights of questioning everything. It's losing people and gaining integrity. It's falling apart and slowly stitching yourself back together, thread by sacred thread. It's learning to sit with discomfort until it no longer controls you. It's seeing your reflection and finally recognizing the eyes staring back. To betray the world is not to hate it. It is to stop pretending for it. It is to walk your own path, even if no one walks beside you. It is to honor your soul more than your image. It is to become dangerous in the most divine way. Untouchable not because you are cruel, but because you are whole. This is what Nietzsche meant. And now, you know it not just in theory, but in your bones. Welcome to yourself. If this message reached something hidden inside you, something raw, real, and long forgotten, then don't let it end here. Subscribe to this channel if you're ready to walk the path of shadow, silence, and self-mastery. Leave a comment if you've ever felt like betraying the world was the only way to find yourself. And share this with someone who's still living in their mask. The world doesn't need more approval. It needs more truth. Welcome to your own becoming.